If you were born under Sagittarius and lately, without any logical reason, you've been pausing mid-sentence, staring at nothing, feeling like something invisible just shifted beneath your feet, then you need to hear this. Not because I have answers, but because you already do. And what about unfold in your life won't wait for you to feel ready. There's a specific kind of silence that's been following you, not the comfortable kind, not the peaceful kind, the kind that makes you wonder if you've been living on autopilot. And only now, for reasons you can't explain, you're waking up mid-flight. Nothing collapsed. No one left. No catastrophe arrived at your door. Yet something inside you knows the way you've been moving to the world is over. You might not have the language for it yet, but your body does. It shows up in the way your chest tightens when you think about next year, in the way certain conversations now feel hollow, in the strange, almost eerie calm you feel when you imagine walking away from something you once thought you needed. This isn't anxiety. It's recognition. The kind that arrives when a chapter is ending and the next one is already being written in invisible ink. And here's what makes this moment so distinct, Sagittarius. You're not being pulled forward by excitement. You're being pushed by a quiet insistence that living the same way is no longer an option. It's not that yesterday was wrong. It's that today requires something different, something truer. You felt it in those moments when you're surrounded by people, but feel completely alone. Not lonely, just separate, like you're watching your own life from behind glass, wondering when you started feeling like a guest in your own story. Or maybe it shows up when you're driving home, and for no reason at all, you take a different route, a longer one, because going straight back to what's familiar feels suffocating. These aren't random impulses, Sagittarius. They're whispers from a part of you that's been waiting for permission to speak. The part that knows you've outgrown the container you've been living in. And no matter how safe that container once felt, no matter how much you invested in building it, decorating it, defending it to others, it no longer fits who you're becoming. Sagittarius, you've always been the one who leaves first, the one who doesn't stay where the air feels too small. But here's what no one tells you. Sometimes the thing you need to leave isn't a place, it's a version of yourself. The one who stayed quiet to keep the peace. The one who dimmed their light so others wouldn't feel outshone. The one who kept moving forward because stillness felt too dangerous. And right now, whether you realize it or not, that version is stepping back, not with drama, not with a breakdown, just receding, like a tide that knows its time has passed. You might notice it in small ways first. A job offer that would have excited you 2 years ago now feels irrelevant. A person you once needed validation from suddenly seems distant, like you're looking at them through glass. Or maybe it's simpler than that. Maybe you just woke up one morning and thought, I don't want to pretend anymore, and didn't know what you meant, but felt it completely. Because Sagittarius, you've been performing for so long that you forgot what it feels like to simply be, to exist without an audience, to make choices without wondering how they'll be perceived, to speak without editing yourself 3 times before the words leave your mouth. And the exhaustion of that performance, it's been building quietly for years. Not loud enough to break you, just persistent enough to hollow you out, one compromise at a time. You've told yourself it's maturity, growth, being realistic. But somewhere deeper, you know the truth. You've been trading pieces of yourself for acceptance, for stability, for the illusion of control. And now, the bill is coming due, not as punishment, as awakening. The universe isn't asking you to become someone new. It's asking you to stop being someone you never were, to shed the roles you took on because they seemed necessary at the time. The dependable one, the strong one, the one who doesn't need help, the one who always has it together, even when they're falling apart. These identities served you once. They got you through moments when survival required a mask. But Sagittarius, you're not surviving anymore. You're living, and living requires your real face. So when you feel that strange resistance to things that used to work, the routines, the relationships, the ways of being, don't fight it. That resistance is intelligence. It's your soul saying, not this, not anymore. There's something else waiting. And the moment you stop resisting the resistance, the path begins to clear. And then someone arrives or returns, not with fanfare, not with certainty, just presence. The kind that makes you forget to check your phone. The kind that makes you realize you've been holding your breath for months, and only now you're exhaling. For some of you, this person is new, a face you didn't expect, a name that didn't exist in your world last season. But when they speak, something ancient in you responds. Not because they're perfect, because they're real. They don't ask you to perform. They don't need you to be impressive. They see the part of you that's tired, and they don't try to fix it. They just sit with you, and somehow that's everything. You might meet them in the most ordinary circumstances. A coffee shop where you've been 100 times but never noticed them. A work situation that throws you together without intention. Or maybe through a friend, someone who casually says, "You two should meet," and you think nothing of it until the conversation starts and something clicks into place that you didn't know was missing. The connection doesn't announce itself with fireworks. It arrives like recognition, like your nervous system remembering something it forgot it knew. Safety, ease, the rare gift of not having to translate yourself. They ask you a question, and you answer honestly without calculating the response. You share something vulnerable, and they don't rush to comfort you or fix you. They just listen, fully present, until you're done. And in that space, something inside you that's been clenched for years softens. For others, this person has been beside you all along, but the space between you has been crowded with noise, schedules, stress, unspoken resentments, the weight of keeping it together. You've been living in the same house, sharing the same bed, but existing in parallel universes, each of you carrying your own silent burden, too tired to reach across the gap. And now, in the strangest, quietest way, the noise is lifting. Maybe it starts with an unexpected conversation. Late at night, when defenses are down and you're both too exhausted to pretend. One of you says something true, something raw, and instead of the usual deflection or argument, the other person pauses, really hears it, doesn't defend, doesn't dismiss, just receives it. And suddenly, you remember why you chose each other in the first place. Not because it was easy, but because underneath all the layers of protection and habit, there was something real, something worth uncovering again. Or maybe it's not a conversation at all. Maybe it's a small gesture that carries more weight than words ever could. The way they make your coffee without asking. The way they touch your shoulder as they pass. Just to let you know they're there. The way they look at you across a crowded room and you both know, without speaking, that you're going to be okay. These moments don't erase the hard parts, but they remind you that connection isn't about perfection. It's about presence, about showing up again and again, even when it's uncomfortable, even when you don't have the answers. And for Sagittarius, who has spent so long believing that freedom means going alone, this realization changes everything. Because you're learning that real freedom isn't about never needing anyone. It's about being free enough to let people in without losing yourself in the process. It's about trusting that you can open your heart and still remain whole. That intimacy doesn't have to mean imprisonment, and that the right person won't ask you to shrink. They'll give you space to expand. This meeting, this moment, this person, whether new or rediscovered, isn't here to complete you. You're not a puzzle missing a piece. They're here to walk beside you, to witness your becoming, to remind you that you don't have to carry everything alone, and that asking for support isn't weakness, it's wisdom. But here's where it gets interesting, because while your heart is softening, something else is waking up, a dream you thought you buried, not because it died, but because it felt too dangerous to hope for. Maybe it was a creative path you abandoned when real life demanded more practical choices. Maybe it was a way of living, traveling, building, teaching that felt too selfish, too risky, too late. Or maybe it wasn't even a dream at all. Maybe it was just a version of yourself you forgot existed. The one who used to sit by the window and imagine impossible things. The one who believed the world was bigger than the map they were handed. That version is coming back. Not with urgency, not with a deadline. Just knocking softly, asking if there's still room. And Sagittarius, here's what I need you to understand. This isn't nostalgia. This is reclamation. You didn't lose time. You didn't miss your chance. You were gathering what you needed to return as someone who can actually hold it. Because the truth is, when that dream first appeared, you weren't ready. You had the passion, yes. The vision, absolutely. But you didn't have the foundation, the patience, the deep knowing that comes only through living. You would have built something beautiful and fragile, something that could have shattered the first time life tested it. But now you're different. You've walked through fire and didn't burn. You transformed. You've been broken and put yourself back together with more intentionality than before. You've learned what matters and what doesn't, what's worth fighting for and what's worth releasing. And that wisdom, that's what makes the dream possible now. Not in the reckless, all-or-nothing way you once imagined, but in a grounded, sustainable, real way. The kind of way that doesn't require you to abandon everything else. The kind that integrates with your life instead of demanding you blow it up. Maybe the dream looks different now too. Less about proving something to the world. More about honoring something inside yourself. You're not trying to be famous or impressive or the best. You're trying to be true. To create something that feels like an extension of who you actually are, not who you think you should be. And that shift from performing to expressing changes everything. It removes the pressure, the comparison, the fear of failure, because you're no longer creating for external validation. You're creating because something in you needs to come out, needs to take form, needs to exist in the world, even if only a few people ever see it. This dream might start small. An hour on the weekend, a notebook you finally open, a conversation with someone who knows the industry. You're not quitting your job tomorrow. You're not making grand announcements. You're just allowing it space, letting it breathe, giving it permission to exist alongside everything else, instead of demanding it wait until the right time. Because Sagittarius, here's what you're finally understanding. There is no right time. There's only now. And the choice to begin, even imperfectly, even scared, even without knowing how it ends. That choice is a bridge between who you've been and who you're becoming. And every small step you take across that bridge sends a message to the universe. I'm ready. I'm listening. I'm here. And the universe, it always responds to that kind of clarity. But before the dream can take shape, there's something you have to face. Not out there. In here. A truth that's been waiting in the shadows, patient and unmoving. It might come through a dream that won't let you go. A conversation that cuts deeper than it should. Or just a moment alone, no distractions, no escapes, when everything suddenly becomes unbearably clear. You've been running, not from failure, not from pain, from something quieter, something older. The fear that if you stop moving, if you commit fully, if you let yourself be seen, you'll lose yourself. Or worse, you'll be trapped. And so you've built your life around exits, around just in case, around the story that freedom means never needing anyone, never depending, never staying long enough for the wait to settle. But Sagittarius, that's not freedom. That's protection disguised as philosophy. And the universe, in its strange and gentle way, is asking you now, what are you still protecting yourself from? Maybe it's an old wound you never fully acknowledged. A moment in your past when you gave everything and it wasn't enough. When you opened your heart and someone walked through it carelessly. When you trusted and were betrayed. When you stayed and were abandoned anyway. That moment taught you a lesson you've been living by ever since. Never again. Never be that vulnerable. Never need anyone that much. Never give someone the power to hurt you. And so you learn to leave first. To keep one foot out the door, always, to build relationships with an escape route already mapped. Not because you didn't care, but because you cared too much and couldn't survive that kind of loss again. Or maybe the truth goes even deeper. Maybe it's not about a specific wound at all. Maybe it's about an identity you built so carefully, so convincingly, that you forgot it was a costume. The independent one, the adventurer, the one who doesn't need stability or routine or roots. You've worn that identity like armor, and it's protected you, yes. It's gotten you through. But Sagittarius, it's also kept you lonely. Because when you define yourself by what you don't need, you close the door to what you do. You tell yourself you're fine alone. And you are. You've proven that 1,000 times. But fine isn't the same as fulfilled. And independence isn't the same as freedom. Real freedom is having the choice. The choice to stay or go. To commit or walk away. To need someone and know you'll survive if they leave. That's power. What you've been doing, that's control. And control always comes at a cost. It costs you depth, intimacy, the kind of connection that only happens when you stop managing outcomes and let things unfold. It costs you the experience of being fully known, not just the shiny, capable parts, but the messy, uncertain, still healing parts too. And it costs you the dream, because you can't build something meaningful while keeping one hand on the exit. Unavoidable. Are you ready to stop running? You can't create, commit, or grow roots in soil you're always preparing to leave. So the universe brings you here, to this moment, where the truth can no longer be ignored. And the question becomes unavoidable. Are you ready to stop running? Not because running is wrong, but because you've arrived somewhere that requires you to stay. To plant yourself, to trust the ground beneath you, to believe that even if things fall apart, even if you're hurt again, even if it doesn't work out the way you hoped, you'll still be okay. More than okay. You'll be free. Free from exhaustion of always bracing for impact. Free from the loneliness of never letting anyone close enough to matter. Free from the weight of protecting yourself from a pain that might never come. This truth, when you finally let it land, doesn't feel like defeat. It feels like relief. Like setting down a burden you didn't realize you've been carrying. And in that space, that newly opened, undefended space, something shifts. You stop seeing commitment as a cage. You stop seeing vulnerability as weakness. You stop seeing stillness as stagnation. And you start seeing them for what they really are. The soil where everything you've ever wanted has been waiting to grow. And then it happens. Not a collapse. Not a crisis. Just a decision that can't be postponed anymore. A situation appears that forces your hand. An environment that no longer fits. A relationship that requires you to shrink. A rhythm of life that's draining you faster than it's filling you. And you realize, staying here one more day won't destroy you. But staying here one more year will erase you. So you stand at the edge. On one side, the familiar, the known, the safe but suffocating. On the other, uncertainty, risk, the terrifying possibility that you might fail, or worse, succeed and have no excuse left. And in that moment, Sagittarius, everything hinges on one choice. Do you trust yourself more than you fear the unknown? Because the door doesn't open when you knock. It opens when you finally let go of what you're gripping behind you. This breaking point doesn't always look dramatic from the outside. To others, it might seem like just another day. But inside you, tectonic plates are shifting. The foundation you built your life on, the beliefs, the compromises, the stories you told yourself to make staying bearable, all of it is cracking, and you can feel it in the way your body tenses when you think about another week, another month, another year the same, in the way you've started avoiding certain conversations because you know where they'll lead, in the way you catch yourself daydreaming about a different life and then quickly shut it down, telling yourself it's not practical, not possible, not the right time. But Sagittarius, when is it ever the right time? When is fear ever going to give you permission? When is comfort ever going to voluntarily step aside and say, okay, now you can grow? It doesn't work that way. Growth requires disruption. Change requires letting go before you can see what you're reaching for. And courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the decision to move forward, even though fear is sitting in the passenger seat, loud and insistent. The situation that's forcing your hand might be external. A job that's become unbearable. A relationship that's suffocating you. A city that no longer feels like home. Or it might be completely internal. A realization that you can't keep living this way without losing something essential. That the cost of staying is higher than the cost of leaving. That you'd rather face the unknown than spend another year betraying yourself. And here's what makes this moment so powerful. You're not running away this time. You're running toward alignment, toward truth, toward a version of your life that actually feels like yours. This isn't about escape. It's about reclamation. You're not leaving because you're weak or scared or incapable of handling difficulty. You're leaving because you're finally strong enough to honor what you need. Strong enough to disappoint people. Strong enough to let go of security. Strong enough to choose yourself, even when it's uncomfortable, even when people don't understand, even when there's no guarantee it will work out. That kind of strength, it doesn't come from never being afraid. It comes from being afraid and doing it anyway, from trusting that you'll figure out as you go, from believing that the person you'll become on the other side of this decision is worth whatever you have to walk through to get there. And so you take the first step. Maybe it's a conversation you've been avoiding. Maybe it's an application you finally submit. Maybe it's simply allowing yourself to imagine a different future without immediately talking yourself out of it. Whatever it is, it's a beginning. And the moment you take it, the universe responds, not with applause or instant results, but with space. The kind of space that's been missing for so long. Space to breathe, to think, to feel without judgment. Space for new possibilities to enter. Space for the life you've been too afraid to want to finally take shape. And when you do, when you finally step forward, even with trembling hands, something shifts. Not all at once, not perfectly, but the air changes, your breath deepens. The invisible weight you've been carrying, so familiar you forgot it was there, begins to lift. And in that space, in that newly opened, unguarded, vulnerable space, something new enters. A clarity you didn't know you were missing. A lightness that doesn't come from having answers, but from finally asking the right questions. You stop trying to control the ending. You stop performing strength. You stop living like you have something to prove. And you start living like someone who finally understands. You were never broken. You were just becoming. This opening feels subtle at first. You wake up one morning and realize you slept through the night without waking up anxious. You have a conversation and notice you're not editing yourself 3 times before speaking. You look in the mirror and the face staring back doesn't look tired anymore. It looks awake, present, like someone who's finally inhabiting their own life instead of observing it from a distance. The people around you start noticing too, even if they can't name what's different. There's something about your energy that's shifted. Less frantic, less defensive, less apologetic. You're taking up space without aggression, speaking your truth without cruelty, setting boundaries without guilt. And the strangest part? You're not trying. It's not a performance or a strategy. It's just who you are now. Someone who's decided that their peace matters more than other people's comfort, that their truth matters more than other people's expectations, that their life matters more than the story they were supposed to follow. And as this new way of being settles into your bones, you start noticing opportunities that weren't there before. Or maybe they were always there, but you couldn't see them because you were looking at life through the lens of limitation, through the belief that you had to choose freedom or security, passion or stability, yourself or everyone else. But now you're seeing that those were false binaries, that you can have both, that you can build a life that doesn't require you to abandon pieces of yourself. A career that uses your gifts without draining you. A relationship that feels like home without feeling like a cage. A daily rhythm that includes rest without guilt, ambition without burnout, connection without losing yourself. This isn't about perfection. It's about alignment, about making choices that feel true instead of safe, about building a life you don't need to escape from on weekends. And every day you wake up in that alignment, you send a message to the universe. I'm ready for more of this. And the universe listens. It always listens. Opportunities come. Doors open. People appear who see you clearly and value what you bring. Not because you're suddenly special or lucky, but because you're finally available. Available to receive what's been trying to reach you for years. Available to say yes to things that scare and excite you in equal measure. Available to live fully instead of safely. And Sagittarius, this is where your life truly begins. Not with a dramatic moment. Not with everything falling perfectly into place. But with the quiet, steady knowing that you're finally moving in the right direction. That you're no longer fighting yourself. That the person you're becoming is someone you actually want to be. This is where the transformation completes itself. Not loudly, not with applause. Just quietly, like dawn arriving without asking permission. You look back at the person you were 6 months ago, the one who stayed in places that drained them, the one who accepted less because they feared asking for more, the one who traded authenticity for approval. And you realize, I can't go back to that. Not because you become someone else, but because you finally stop pretending to be anyone other than yourself. Others will notice before you do. They'll see it in the way you hold silence now, comfortably, without rushing to fill it, in the way you say no without apologizing, in the way you exist without needing validation, without scanning the room to see if you're enough. Some will be drawn closer, others will pull away, and you'll let both happen without clinging, without explanation, because you've learned the most important lesson Sagittarius ever faces. Your freedom was never about running. It was about becoming solid enough to stay and choosing when not to. You're no longer afraid of commitment because you understand it doesn't mean losing yourself. You're no longer afraid of stillness because you know it doesn't mean stagnation. You're no longer afraid of being seen because you've accepted all the parts of yourself, the light and the shadow, the strength and the vulnerability, the wisdom and the still healing wounds. And from that place of wholeness, everything changes. Your relationships deepen because you're no longer performing. Your work becomes more fulfilling because it's an expression of who you are, not who you think you should be. Your days feel lighter because you're not carrying the weight of pretending anymore. You return to yourself, not the self you were before everything happened, but the self you become because of it. Stronger, wiser, more compassionate. Someone who knows what they're worth and won't settle for less. Someone who trusts their intuition because they've learned it never steers them wrong. Someone who can hold both joy and sorrow, hope and grief, without needing one to cancel out the other. This version of you doesn't need permission, doesn't need approval, doesn't need the path to be clear before taking the first step. You've learned that clarity comes through action, not before it. That courage isn't something you find. It's something you build, one choice at a time. That the life you've been waiting for won't arrive fully formed. You have it created, day by day, decision by decision. And you're doing that now. Not perfectly, but honestly. Not fearlessly, but bravely. And that's what makes this transformation real. So if you felt it, this quiet, persistent sense that something is ending and something else is beginning, trust it. You're not imagining it. You're not early. You're not late. You're exactly where the universe needed you to be. To wake up, to let go, to remember who you were before the world taught you to be smaller. This isn't a warning. It's an invitation. And the door is already open. All you have to do now is walk through, not with all the answers, not with absolute certainty, but with enough trust in yourself to know that whatever comes next, you'll handle it, because you always have. And this time, you're not just surviving. You're living fully, honestly, freely. And Sagittarius, that's what you were always meant to do.